Hey guys, welcome back to the channel McNallie Money, home of all things stock, investment, and personal finance related. Now for today's video, we're going to be providing an update on Bitfarms Ltd. This is one of my top holdings in my personal portfolio, and they just came out with very impressive April production numbers. So we're going to talk about that in today's presentation, but before we do, please take a second, hit the like button, you guys. It's a huge help to myself and the channel. If you're not already subscribed, McNallie Money, feel free to do so. And let me know in the comment section below what you thought of April's results, if you're currently holding shares of Bitfarms yourself, and how you think they stack up to some of the other players in this space. Now with that being said, let's get into today's video. Okay guys, so that's right. Today's video, we're going to be providing an update specifically in relation to April production levels from Bitfarms Ltd. Ticker symbol on this one is BITF on the Toronto Stock Exchange. Same ticker on the NASDAQ in the United States. As you can see here, this is as of close on Tuesday, May 3rd. They were down 2 cents per share, or about 0.5% on the day, to close out just below $4. They're now trading at $3.85 Canadian, and that's compared to a high of just under $11 Canadian back in the middle of November of 2021. So they've definitely been downtrending dramatically over the last couple of months in relation to the price of Bitcoin, despite growing their hash rate exponentially over the last couple of quarters. Now, based on this close, we're sitting at a market cap in the range of about $775 million Canadian, and I personally have been buying shares and call options on Bitfarms because I'm super bullish about this company over the next couple of months. Now, in today's video, we're going to talk about the recent news, the production update from April. We're going to take a look at their various different facilities and lay out my bullish thesis on this company for the back half of 2022. Now, before we get into all that, I want to do a quick plug for iTrustCapital. Now, this is a really great platform if you're bullish on the price of Bitcoin and cryptocurrency in general for the long term, like myself. This platform actually allows residents of the United States to hold cryptocurrency and traditional gold and silver in their Roth, SEP, or traditional IRA accounts. So very similar to how TFSAs or RSP accounts are set up here in Canada, gives you the opportunity to take advantage of some tax benefits or tax shelters over the long term to really avoid some of those hefty taxes if our bullish thesis on crypto proves to be true. Now there's a link in the video description below. If you use my affiliate or referral link, you'll get a $100 sign up bonus. So again, I would definitely encourage you to take a look here if you live in the United States and you're looking for crypto exposure in your personal portfolio. Now with that being said, moving into the feature article of today's presentation, Bitfarms provides April 22 production and mining operational update. Came out Monday, May 2nd, and super excited to see that they've once again actually increased their daily production of Bitcoin. So in the month of April, they produced 405 Bitcoin for an average of 13.5 Bitcoin per day, and they increased their hash rate by 600 petahash to now 3.3 exahash per second. So it was actually just at the start of April, they crossed the 3 exahash per second milestone, and they're now up 10% in the last 30 days alone. So Bitfarms Ltd, a global Bitcoin self-mining company, and we're actually going to take a look at some of their different operational sites in a second here, provided a Bitcoin production and operational update for April 22. Here's a quote from the CEO on their progress. So in early April, as I mentioned, we surpassed our 3 exahash per second goal with the start of production at our Ledger farm, our 9th operating facility. And again, we're going to look at all 9 of these in a second. This momentum continued throughout the month with new miner installations driving our hash rate to now over 3.3 exahash per second, which is up 22% from the 2.7 exahash per second they had at the end of March. This incremental capacity helped drive our average daily production to that 13.5 Bitcoin per day, which was up 15% from the 11.7 Bitcoin per day we observed in March. And they're proud to say they now exited April with a 14 plus Bitcoin per day run rate. So this is absolutely phenomenal as someone who's invested in this company to see the growth in their hash rate or computing power at this rate month over month. Now, if we actually look at the mining stats here, 13.5 Bitcoin per day is the equivalent to $520,000 US, which works out to $15.6 million for the month of April alone. And that's based on the decreased or depressed price of Bitcoin we've we've now seen around $38.5 thousand US. So although the price of Bitcoin has come down considerably, they're still pulling in over $500,000 a day and just under $16 million US per month, giving them an annual run rate in excess of $187 million US if they just stay at their current production levels we observed in April. Now, of the 405 Bitcoin they mined in the month of April, they actually held on to all but 2 of those. So they sold 2 Bitcoin, they deposited the other 403 into custody. So that actually means over 99.5% of the Bitcoin they mined in month was deposited into custody. And as an investor, that's something I really like to see, because obviously I don't want these companies selling or converting their Bitcoin to cash when prices are so low. And with the addition of those 403 Bitcoin, their total reserve is now sitting at 5,646 Bitcoin as of April 30th, representing a total value of around $217 million, again, based on the average Bitcoin price we observed in April. Now keep in mind, Bitfarms Ltd has a market cap in the neighborhood of about $600 million US, so over a third of that is actually sitting in their reserve, plus they're bringing in about $15.6 million worth of Bitcoin each and every month. So the valuation and the multiples for me as an investor really do look quite attractive here, especially when you consider the direct input cost for them to acquire each one of these Bitcoins is currently below $10,000. And we're going to look at that in a graph here next up in today's presentation. Now, in terms of their operational updates, they've now initiated production at their Ledger site in Quebec. That's actually what got them up over that 3 exahash per second milestone. Approximately 5,900 new miners were installed, adding about 600 petahash per second to Bitfarms' online hash rate during the month. And they increased their total capacity in terms of electricity by 16 megawatts to 137 megawatts. And to top it all off, they've now officially launched their revamped and proprietary miner management system that they've been beta testing over the last 9 months. So this is super exciting as well, and gives the company the capability to manage and track the individual performance of hundreds of thousands of miners across its globally decentralized mining farms, with a focus on maximizing uptime, or the amount of time these units are actually up and operational. So in summary here, you guys, a phenomenal month of April for Bitfarms Ltd. You can see the last 4 months, they went from 301 to 298 to 363, and now in excess of 400 Bitcoin from January to April of this year. And a big congrats to the leadership team for delivering on this commitment and getting this new site up and operational on time. Now, speaking of their historical performance, I wanted to jump over to the Bitfarms Ltd investor presentation and take a look at their growth in terms of Bitcoin, hash rate, and direct cost per Bitcoin over the last couple of quarters. So as you can see, it actually wasn't that long ago, Q1 of last year, that they were mining under 7 Bitcoin per day, so 6.7 Bitcoin per day. In Q2, they jumped up to 8.2. 11.6 in Q3 of last year, and to finish off Q4 of 2021, they were averaging about 12.5 Bitcoin per day. And as we just saw, they're now up over 14 Bitcoin per day, which is really quite an impressive growth profile from the team at Bitfarms. Now, in terms of their direct cost, I actually just referenced under $10,000. You can see to end out Q4 of last year, it cost them on average about $8,000 per Bitcoin. This is expressed in US dollars. So although we've seen the price of Bitcoin pull back quite dramatically in 2022, the margins for these miners are still very attractive. So if they're getting on average about 38,500 US per Bitcoin, their cost is $8,000. That means even at today's level, they're still profiting about $30,500 per Bitcoin, or roughly an 80% product margin, even at these depressed prices we've seen over the last couple of months. Now, keep in mind, there's going to be some operational expenses over top of that, salaries, benefits, employee expenses, stuff like that. But when you compare the gross margins of some of these Bitcoin mining companies to companies in other industries, it really is quite astonishing. And I don't think the market is really giving them the respect or the credit they deserve based on these very impressive margins. And Bitcoin mining is unlike any other industry here, you guys. They're essentially in the business of printing or creating money. So a lot of the other companies we talk about on this channel have gross margins in the neighborhood of 20, 25, 30, 35%, whereas Bitcoin mining companies are up in the neighborhood of 60, 70, 80%, depending on their direct Bitcoin cost. cost. Now, the other thing I wanted to touch on in today's presentation is just the 9 sites that are now up and operational. So you can see they've now got 7 locations in Quebec here in Canada. They've also got their Paraguay facility and their facility in Washington, United States. And if we look out to their future pipeline, you can see more facilities located here in Quebec, plus the addition of their new 210 megawatt Rio Cuarto facility in Argentina. And that's going to be an absolute phenomenal addition to their lineup. Again, when you look at the scale or the size of that facility. So 210 megawatt electrical capacity compared to a lot of the other facilities that are in the 10, 20, or 30 megawatt range. And if we jump back to their current operations, you can see the largest capacity right now is their Washington facility that's sitting at 24 megawatts. So with that being said, you guys, really impressive month of April for the team at Bitfarms Ltd. A lot coming down the pipe in terms of future growth opportunities and catalysts for this company. Phenomenal margins on the Bitcoin that they're actually producing, and the fact that they're now depositing or retaining over 99.5% of the Bitcoin that they're mining. So for me, that means the leadership team has a very streamlined business model. They're not wasting money. They're actually able to hold on to the Bitcoin that they mine, consistent with their hold on for dear life strategy, and wait for the prices to recover and see that reserve appreciate in value exponentially. Now, as we talked about in some of my prior videos, this is a company I'm heavily invested in, both through traditional shares and call option contracts. This one I'm super excited about over the next couple of years, along with Hut 8 Mining, and I'll continue to provide updates on my channel each and every month as we see new developments from Bitfarms Ltd. Now, with that being said, I'd be super curious to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. If you're currently holding shares of BITF and how you think they stack up to some of the other players in the space. I personally respond to each and every comment, so this is a great way to get a hold of me, and I'd love to hear from you. That being said, that's all for now. Thanks so much for watching and have a great rest of your day.